we are in conversation with filmmaker Srishti Lakhera. She has just won the National Film Award for her non-feature film category for her movie Ek The Gaon. So Srishti, of course, is here to tell us more in her own words about the experience and the filmmaking process and what it means actually to rural India.
पहाड़ मतलब यहाँ की नदियाँ, जंगल और डरावनी बाघ की कहानियाँ। कहते हैं पहाड़ का पानी और जवानी पहाड़ों के काम नहीं आती। ये पहाड़ों से उतर के किसी और ही रंग या आकार में तब्दील हो जाती हैं। उत्तराखंड के इन पहाड़ियों को पलायन ने आज चारों तरफ से घेर लिया है। पिछले 2 दशक में यहाँ करीब 1000 से ज़्यादा गांव खाली हुए हैं। हमारी कहानी भी उत्तराखंड के ऐसे गांव की कहानी है जहाँ इंसान से ज़्यादा खाली घर दिखते हैं। So Ek The Gaon, the film which won in non-feature category, it won the Best Film Award. It's a film based in my father's village. He grew up in this village in Tehri district in Uttarakhand. It being my father's village, I kept hearing of like stories of like, oh, this uncle has also left the village, that family is also gone. So there was like, in my family and especially through my father, I would hear about how it's getting more and more empty. So there was this sense of like nostalgia. So I kept thinking like, what is that story that I want to tell of my own people and my own? So this is what it felt like I should look into. So in 2015, I started researching on the project. So I started going back to my village and looking like into like what is the story that I want to tell exactly in the place. And I started meeting people, very interesting people. The very few people who were left behind, mostly women. There were only 7 people in the village that time when I started going and researching about the situation. And I did meet very interesting characters, and that is what really motivated me to go forward and work on it for many years after that and to produce the film.
Right. So when you went initially, I mean, did the situation like really hit you hard?
My parents are very connected to their family. Like they're very, very social in their family, in the larger family, in the village family and all of that. But like I would say that there was only a specific kind of narrative that I got from that immediate family of who these people were or who are from the village and who are important to them. But whereas when I went, I actually encountered Leela Devi, who's the main subject character of the film. She was then 80-plus-year-old living alone in a 100-year-old stone house. She was very magical to me, and I had not heard about her from my parents. I mean, she wasn't very important maybe to a lot of people, but like when I met her and the kind of storytelling she did and the things she told me about the past, and she was in some ways also living in the past, because I think she was very heartbroken with the situation that she was in.
So if I may interject, why was she there alone? What about her family members?
So her husband has passed away many years back, and her son also had passed away because of an accident. He was not married or had any family of his own. Her daughter was living in Dehradun, and if you watch the film, she Biju, like Leela Devi's daughter, comes to the village and asks her to come with her to Dehradun, and auntie like Leela Devi doesn't agree to that. So that's why she was living there alone. But more than that, I think why she was really living alone was that, so she was 16 when she moved to this village, right, after getting married. And since then, like all she knew was this village. The fields surrounding the house was where she had, like, worked as a farmer all her life. So half her conversation was about this, like what she grew where, what seeds she got from which village.
Right.
So there was a lot of pride, and I really think like leaving that place to her meant like leaving that identity of her, of like being that, having that pride of being a farmer, doing something very productive. In her way of explaining things, she would also call a person sundar. Like sometimes she'll say, like, you know, that person is very bahut sundar hai. So, but that, like, I understood that it never meant like physically. It meant how well they knew the skills of the land, what they were doing. So I really think that it was very important for her to have that identity intact. The other story which was very striking to me was the second character of the film called Golu. Her otherwise name is Sandhya. She was 19 then, and again she was also like, there was she was wondering what she's gonna do with her life.
She also lives alone, or does she
No,
have
no,
a
with her
family?
parents.
Okay.
She was living with her parents, and parents weren't doing very well financially, and so there was a gap for her to figure out how can she like have some education further, have some kind of job. So that was always the question for her. Like, I really wanted to show these two perspectives. One old woman whose identity came from the place and she didn't want to leave, and the other person was like, she didn't want to stay. It had nothing for her to offer. Like, she was like, what am I doing here? How can I get out of here?
So your experience during the filming, I think, would go on two tracks. One, looking objectively as a filmmaker, and two, as someone who probably also has feelings of belonging towards that place. So were you kind of conflicted with those thoughts, some kind of maybe feelings of responsibility that your family had also moved and then slowly everyone left, and should you have forged more connections? Were there those inner turmoils like that?
I was in this situation thrown to be an insider, like completely. There was just no choice. Like, I was considered obviously this one's daughter. So there were obviously a lot of benefit in terms of access, like people opened up because I was this one's daughter. It also put me in a box that I am the daughter of this man, and I am of this gender, I am this caste. So which I not necessarily, or with my education, have grown to challenge that and figure out what I really believe in, and not believe in certain traditional ways of being. So that was a downside for sure. I worked in Semla for 5 years. Mm-hmm. It took me very long for many various reasons. One is that the film was made without any funding. We barely had any funding. By the end of it, to just finish the film, we were able to do a successful crowdfunding campaign to go into the post and hire people in Bombay and all. Otherwise, the crew team member, nobody's gotten paid. We have still not been able to recover any money. But yeah, so then because of the longer engagement, because of that, and also what happens in a documentary when you're trying to show a story arc, you're not writing it out of your head. You're following people's life and seeing how it changed or what's happening. So it does take a longer time to see that change. So because I had such a long interaction and engagement with people on ground, I do have genuine friendships there, which they're still there. I mean, Leela Devi passed away this year, unfortunately, beginning of this year, January. I'm in touch with her daughter, and Golu Sandhya again is a very, very close friend. We're in constant touch, and okay. So I do have a longer friendship, and I don't think I want to make films, especially personal films, without that kind of relationship.
So, we talked about how Uttarakhand is facing so much of migration to other places out of the village. And close to more than 1700, if I'm not wrong, villages are officially, I guess there is data.
Official data is very, it's different in different newspapers, I don't know. But over 1,000 for sure, that's what majority say.
So have been now, have turned into ghost villages.
Yes.
And people have migrated out of compulsion for livelihood mostly?
Yes, and education is a big reason. These are two big reasons, employment and education, that I saw.
So, if you can tell us about Semla in particular, I mean, where is the nearest road, or I mean, the facilities that are available there? Is there a school there, or whatever the health facilities and all?
So,
This is in Tehri district.
yes, this is Tehri district. The closest PHC is in a neighboring village from Semla called Newly. This is a village. I have visited that PHC many times. Very few time there are doctors there visiting, even though a PHC is supposed to have a doctor.
Yeah.
They are assigned there, but I haven't seen any visiting, except like once there was this.
And how
one
much is the
doctor.
distance?
From walking, it'll be like 20 minutes.
Okay.
So that is.
But is it's Semla connected by a Pakka road?
Now it is.
Okay.
So now it is. So part of the film, we also follow the road coming in.
Uh-huh.
And the construction of the road is happening, and that's coming in, and there are but barely any people in this specific village. But the road is going through Semla, and it's going to other villages also.
Okay.
The other problem is also that there might be a road gone now,
Yeah.
but not. Pretty much nobody in the village has a transport of their own.
Yeah.
And public transport is very bad. Like there'll be one jeep in the morning that you have to wait, and then that jeep comes back from the town in the evening.
But the people who have migrated out, are they still in touch? Do they want to come back at all? Do you see any possibilities of, we talk about reverse migration now with road coming in and all, do you see that happening anytime soon?
So with the pandemic, because I was working pre-pandemic in the village, and my immediate family had left the village completely, but because I had started going back for doing shooting schedules and all, my parents got interested to come back. In the pandemic, we lived there, my parents, we three lived there, but now they've gone back to Rishikesh. It wasn't possible. My parents are also senior citizen.
Yeah.
There is no medical facility.
Right.
There is none whatsoever. So yes, I don't think I don't know how will people, maybe I can imagine people doing a holiday home there and those kind of things, that you go there for a month or two and you come back. But people to go back and really engage with the land and go back to farming and all, I don't know about that.
So as a filmmaker now, what are you looking forward to now? Have you started on your next movie already, or is still in the thinking process?
Already working on the other one. Yes, we're on research shooting schedules.
Mm-hmm.
So we've been going. This time it's in Kumaon and Pithoragarh,
Okay.
Dharchula to be specific. And so again, rural is actually, for me, Himalaya is the region that I'm very, very interested in, and because of Ek The Gaon, I got to read a lot of history of Uttarakhand to understand how things have settled and how things came about. And that's why it's Himalaya he's got a very different kind of history to it, very specific to the place. Even the caste system, you have to you can't homogenize it in this country. I believe it's so specific to every region. You have to understand the nuances of every place to understand what's happening and what happened in the past and what's happening right now. So right now, yes, doing the research shoot in Dharchula, and we've been there twice. We're hoping to figure out.
What is this going to be about?
So I'll just that's not
whatever you
what
can
the
share.
film is, but the background of it is, if you know about Kira Jadi.
Yeah,
you might have heard.
the
Yes.
herb, yeah.
Yeah, the caterpillar
It's a
fungi
mushroom.
combination.
Huh.
It's a caterpillar
Yeah,
fungi. It's
yeah.
a fungi which takes over the body of
Yeah,
a
it's mostly
caterpillar.
Nepal region also. It's
Yes,
found, yeah.
but Dharchula is a big region. Dharma Valley.
Sold very, very expensive.
Yes.
No, lakhs of
Yes,
rupees and
yes,
stuff.
yes. So it's become for a lot of people, it's become the cash crop, so to say. They leave everything for 2-3 months and go into higher mountains to search for it.
Collect it. Okay.
Yeah, so that is the background, I would say, just like this economic drive which is happening, and then we're looking at other aspects connected to that.
Okay.
So
And you mentioned the Himalayas and how you feel connected to it, and I'm recalled by this Kipling quote where he says, once the air of Himalayas creeps into your blood, then that man will leave everything at the last moment and return to the Himalayas to, end his life or, to die. So yeah, of course, all of us probably, once we are kind of in that air, there is no breaking the bond. And yet on the other hand are these ghost villages. So it is ironical actually, that outsiders are so fascinated. Even people who are living in big cities and all of them want to have their old mountain homes, and you call it cottages, and such a romantic kind of an image. And yet the people who have it all probably in the minds of an urban audience, probably peaceful living and pure air and all of the things that we talk about so much, are struggling with those same things.
It's also like I mean, this makes me think how but tourism is also very tokenistic, I would say, in so many ways, because Tehri Garhwal again, where not all of Tehri Garhwal, there are different places. It looks different, but where my village is, you don't have a view to the vast Himalayas, right? To now get tourists to come to that kind of place and enjoy the lower hills, the Shivaliks, which is also beautiful.
But vast Himalayas, you mean the snow-clad ones?
The view of like the Kanchenjunga, the Nanda Devi, all of that, which you see from Mussoorie.
Yeah.
So that's why it's a hill station and it gets so many people even today. That's why the Britishers came there.
And it has the legacy, yeah.
Yeah. Or it's like people want to see that grandeur of the thing. So but there are other sides also.
Yeah.
So that also suffer in that way. The reason why more people, I think, will want to go to Kumaon is also that. Except the Britishers also ruled Kumaon, and so I do think the education level, it's a difference in the way they engaged. The schools were there sooner.
And probably also different in, like you said, there is a difference in geography in terms of fertility of land and all that too. Right. So congratulations once again on the award and best of luck.
Thank you so much.
And may you present more rural stories to us.
Thank you.
And bring more rural challenges, rural lives, to the international audience. Yeah.
Thank you so much.
मैं खुद एक पास वाले शहर में बड़ी हुई थी, पर बचपन में मेरे ख्यालों का गांव बड़ा रंगीन था। 2015 में जब मैं गांव वापस गई तो गांव बिल्कुल बदल गया था। मेरे बचपन की कहानियां अधूरी थीं, उनमें गांव के पलायन और पीछे छूटे लोगों का जिक्र नहीं था। ऐसे में मेरी मुलाकात लीला देवी से हुई, जो कभी किसान थीं और आज सुनसान घरों और खाली खेतों के बीच अकेली रहती हैं। एक तरफ लीला थी, जो अपने सूनेपन से जूझते हुए भी अपना घर नहीं छोड़ना चाहती थी, और दूसरी गोलू, जिसे इस गांव में कोई भविष्य नहीं दिख रहा था। एक था गांव, इस पलायन के दौर में पीछे छूटे हुए लोगों और उनके हसरतों की कहानी है। इनके नज़रिए से हम बदलते समय और समाज को देखते हैं।